Hey everyone, I'm Jennifer Chu, CAAM's membership manager. Thank you for joining us for our conversation with the team of the new series, Bulge Bracket. If you haven't yet seen this incredible new series, I encourage you to register for your ticket at the CAAMFest FORWARD website, caamfest.com, and check it out. This series is eligible for the CAAMFest FORWARD Audience Award. To submit your vote, use the button above the video player. And so today, we're really thrilled to have several members of the Bulge Bracket team with us for this conversation. They are Chris Au, writer, producer, director. Chris also serves on CAAM's board of directors and is an award-winning filmmaker and digital media leader. He also worked on CAAM staff early in his career. We also have actress Jessika Vance, who plays lead role of Cathy in the series, and producer Christine Kwon. Christine also served as CAAM's festival managing director until 2013. So welcome, Chris, Jessika, and Christine. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi.
Thank you.
Hi. So my first question is for Chris. What's the inspiration for the series, and really briefly, how did it develop?
Yeah, so Bulge Bracket is inspired by my wife Cindy's experiences as an investment banker in New York. So when we were living in New York about 10 years ago, she was working at one of these bulge bracket banks and working 100 hours a week. And so the only time that I would get to see her would be Saturday mornings. She wouldn't have to go into the office until after lunch. So we would have, the morning together where we would have brunch, and she would just tell me these stories about, the crazy characters and funny things that happened at work. And, at the same time, I had a lot of other friends in New York that were also working in finance and on Wall Street. And on the times that I'd get to see them, they would also have, stories to tell. And so I started collecting all of these various stories and just thought that it would make a great TV show. And so what you see in season one, things like photoshopping Powerball numbers and the boss saying you have to pay me for every minute that you're late, and accidentally buying a handicap seat to the Yankees game and then trying to rent a wheelchair, like all of those things were real stories that happened.
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh. That's really interesting to know. I mean, thanks for sharing kind of how the series developed. And I didn't think that those scenes were kind of based on real life, because they seemed very, very extreme, but interesting.
Yeah, this is as real as it gets.
I was like, I was really floored because I watched all 6 episodes a few weeks ago and it was super funny, but interesting to know. So my next question is for Jessika and Christine. How did you both get involved in the series?
Well, this isn't the complete story, but I remember the first time I met Jessika, we went to a coffee shop that she recommended, and I think it was called Sasquatch. And Sasquatch, is it?
Sasquatch, yeah, and it has that. It's actually next to a comic book store, so it's got like all these cool.
Yeah, it was like this really cool hip cafe, and I didn't know what to expect. I never met her, but I've seen her in multiple films, and I also know Benson, so I was really looking forward to it, but also nervous because she hadn't said yes yet. So I was there on a mission to kind of just to tell her more about the project, but also to hopefully convince her to say yes. And I just remember that she was super nice. She talked about her sister, and I have a sister, and I just felt like immediately I feel like this is the right kind of person for our project because she's a professional, but also she's a real human being. And so that's the first moment that I remember meeting Jessika, and I guess it's been a while since then. Time flies, but it's a fond memory for sure.
I mean, little did she know, I was already like, I love this. I want to do this. Can they make it work? Because I have to completely rearrange their schedule. I was already like contracted to a play, and it was going to be going on the whole time that they wanted to shoot.
Yeah.
But as soon as I read the script, you know, Chris got it to me through someone I knew, and we have like a mutual friend, and the script came through to me, and I read it, and I just thought, wow, what an incredible opportunity. I absolutely wanted to be a part of it. I feel like it's never been done before. First of all, to get to see inside this particular industry, which is so prevalent. And by the way, is like most of the richest people in the world are in this sector specifically. And we know so little about them. And I wonder if that's on purpose. And I thought it'd be really cool to dive into that. But not only that, to actually see it from a woman of color's perspective and what it's like to be the underdog in that way. And it's not the perspective we usually get to see. So for me, I was secretly like, please, I want this to work. It worked out.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for sharing those stories. Actually, and that's something that I really appreciate about the series, is that it centers people of color and a lead who's a woman of color in this industry, because a lot of the films and series that I love that are talking about finance and banking don't have that many characters or actors, actresses of color. So this is really refreshing from this lens. So I think kind of building off of what Christine said about how you got involved in the project, can you tell us more about your role as a producer for this series?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, there's all kinds of different producers, and me and Chris have the CAAM connection. So I'm really grateful for to CAAM for that, among many other things. But basically, me and Chris didn't overlap at CAAM, but I followed him after he had left. And I guess like years later, he had this project, and we just chatted on the phone, and we really connected. I read his script. And we started from there. You know, I read multiple drafts of his script. I know that he got a lot of great feedback from people. He workshopped it until he felt really comfortable going forward with it. And then I guess one of the main things amongst all the logistics is the casting, to make sure that chemistry was there. And I think that Chris and I worked really hard in terms of casting. We're working with like limited resources, a limited budget, but we found a person for each role that we were extremely psyched about. And like, lo and behold, when they all got together, it was like a sitcom. Like everybody, there was like friends, like everybody clicked immediately. They became like inseparable. I felt like it was like camp. Basically, everybody said it was like summer camp. And, you know, they all really like each other. So I think that chemistry, like I would like to think me and Chris had a little something to do with it, because we picked out the people, but it worked out really well. So I was happy about that.
Yeah, I would say that like Christine, you know, has produced a number of other Asian American indie films, and you know, her approach that she shared with me was like, let's make sure we get the top people, you know, for the role and in their craft, but also let's make sure that they're like nice people too, because it makes a huge difference, you know, on set. And so Christine actually like made sure to interview every single person that we hired on crew, and just made sure, you know, that it was going to work out, you know, personality wise. And so I think that had a lot to do with just making that awesome, you know, camaraderie.
Yeah, I definitely think different sets operate and motivate people differently. I mean, I know there are certain sets, depending on who's in charge, I know that there's certain sets that kind of operate on more of like this fear-based like factor. And I know that Chris is not somebody who is doing this project like out of ego. He's doing this project as a story that he's really passionate about, and that's important to him and his wife. And I know that he was going to be open to doing whatever was best for the scenes creatively. And so we wanted people who are also like that, people who are not going to be rigid, but who are going to be basically serving whatever is going to be best for the project. So yeah, that's how we approached all the crew members, every PA, all the way up to, you know, the producers, to the camera department, and, you know, every department really. And yeah, I think it was a really great experience.
It was a great experience. You guys did a fantastic job.
Thank you. Thanks.
I mean, thanks for sharing kind of the insider story. And it seems like it's really great how much thought you put into the culture and selecting the right people who have the values that you're looking for, also at the top of their game. And I could clearly see from just those episodes how much fun folks were having, and it's great to know that they were genuinely like it filtered through. So I think my next question is for Jessika. So this role was pretty physical, seemed like in some ways, and I would love to hear, and just in terms of all the scenes and everything and what it required of you, how did you prepare and for the work and the scenes?
Well, first of all, I mean, I'm so excited to be back at CAAM, even though it's not in person. You guys were such amazing hosts last time around with Soul Searching, and I just wanted to say thank you. So I'm really excited to be here. But preparing, I mean, I don't know that it's the most physical. Cathy isn't exactly like going around kicking anyone's ass. but it was a lot of mental work, I think, that was really cool because I didn't know that much about finance going into it, and now I'm kind of totally into reading investment books and understanding how everything works, and now I want to, be a big investor, but it's not something that I previously really dabbled in. And so I think it was an incredible opportunity that Chris gave me. He introduced me to a whole bunch of his friends who had worked also as, they were young females back around the time period that his wife was there. I also spoke to his wife and got to do a lot of research that way. I got to speak with a lot of my friends who also work in that industry to just really understand what, the day in and day out is like, which is quite the grind. and then I guess from there, I think a lot of Cathy's perspective in terms of her mom, and Chris and I spoke a lot about the Asian parenting styles that happen, the cultural difference between the generations. A lot of that I grew up with, and the things that I didn't, I certainly understand because I've grown up with it all around me. And also, I think being the underdog, that's something that, for better or for worse, I know well in this industry. And I think it's something that's prevalent through all the industries, unfortunately, right now, and probably it will be for a while yet. And so it was cool to get to tap into that for once and really get to explore all of the obstacles that kind of get in our way, even when it's mental obstacles that we're kind of in our own way because we believe that there are things there that are stopping us that may or may not really be there. Some really are. And then others, maybe we can find a way to fight against it by being more positive about it.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, so interesting. Okay. So I guess building off of that sort of, my next question is for Chris, just in terms of how much elements of Asian or Asian American kind of culture and identity you decided to incorporate into the series. What was the thinking behind those elements that you included?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that I drew a lot from my own experiences. I can say that sort of some of those scenes with Cathy and her mom, kind of inspired by not recreations of, but kind of inspired by conversations that I've had with my parents. Like, for instance, going into film is something that was really discouraged, and it was like, I remember, in college when I was telling my mom about it, I was like, I love to write. And, she would say to me, oh, you know what? I have this friend, her son, Derek, just graduated with a computer science degree. He writes code, you should write code, and, in a lot of ways, like, she's probably right. Like, I probably would have had a very successful career, working at, Facebook or something, if I had done that. And then, like, later on when I was graduating, she was like basically the same conversation. She was like, hey, I know you like to write. Who else likes to write? Lawyers. They write contracts. Think about law school. So it's a lot of those kinds of things that, kind of informed those scenes. And so I think that yeah, I sort of put a lot of kind of my experience into it.
Actually, Jessika, you made me think about, it's actually really amazing that you've had the successful career that you have, just because I know it is so hard. And I'm sure it is so hard for, Asian American women to be a lead. And so, I mean, I would assume that, you really have to be multiple times better than everybody else. And I remember listening to an interview with Sandra Oh too, and just about how she made it. And she was just it was just the knowledge that, and almost like she didn't have a choice. If she wanted to succeed in this, she had to go 10,000% in, because nothing is in your favor at this point. So you really need to make it yourself. But I don't know, Jessika, how your experience was, but I mean, for sure, it's really, really admirable.
Well, thank you. No, but I mean, I think for you as well as a female producer, that's not easy at an Asian director, but you're absolutely right. And I think Sandra Oh, I listened to some of that as well. I thought it was so powerful what she said, and she's 100% right. I think, unfortunately, when we are, a minority in whatever industry we're talking about, we do have to end up showing up 120%. We have to do more work than everybody else. We have to be better than everyone else. And a lot of the time you still get rejected anyway. And it's not because you didn't do the work. It's because of all of these other reasons that are out of your control. And it's tough, but I think the times that it's really worked for me is it's motivated me even more. I remember early on in my career, sitting in the waiting room and seeing that I was the only Asian girl. Maybe there was one African-American girl and nobody else was even of color. And I remember thinking, you know what? I have a chance here to make this role Asian and to show everyone that this particular kind of character, this particular kind of person could also be someone of color. It doesn't only need to look the way that it's looked up until this point. And it gave me that extra little kick in the waiting room to be like, you know what? You're not only doing this for yourself, you're doing this for everyone else. So go in there and really give it your all. And I think that helped me, honestly. Many times I think that helped me. It gave me a little bit of adrenaline to just kind of get me through the day, because otherwise you're just met with rejection after rejection every day. It's I didn't get that either, or they don't even tell you. You just don't hear ever. And eventually, 4 weeks later, you're like, all right, I guess I didn't get it because Deadline announced that so-and-so got it. So guess it's not me, But I mean, for you as a female producer, I'm sure that's really rough as well. And even in the film festival world.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad you said that. And I feel pumped. I feel motivated whenever I hear other people tell their stories about how they didn't let that defeat them, but they actually got better. And then they succeeded because of that. So I feel pumped, Jessika. I'm yes, let's get this.
Get it.
This is such a great conversation, and I really hate to cut it short, but we're actually pretty much out of time. I mean, I wish this could go on. I would love to hear the three of you continue to discuss this, but we're basically out of time. But before we wrap up, I want to make sure that our audiences know how they can continue to connect with the series and each of your work. So if you could each please share how folks can continue following you. Chris, do you want to go start first?
Sure. You can follow me on my website, christopherau.com. There's links to my socials there. I'm at Ouchie_ on Instagram and Twitter. You can follow the series at Bulge Bracket Series on Facebook and Instagram. That's probably the best way to hear about updates and things about if we're able to do more seasons or things like that.
Fantastic. Next, Christine.
I would just say go follow Bulge Bracket Series. And you could probably find me there through the interwebs. But yeah, I think that's the best way.
Okay.
Bulge Bracket Series, that Instagram, and they're on Facebook as well. They've done an incredible job of just keeping everyone up to date with the latest reviews and everything. I feel that's the best way to keep up with the series, and they're gonna announce it probably before I will, but because I'm not allowed to half the time. But for me, I'm at Jessika Van, but it's spelled with a K, and at everything. So you just find me there. Say hello.
Fantastic. Well, everyone, thank you so much for making the time to join us for this conversation. We really appreciate it, and for being part of CAAMFest Forward. And those watching, don't forget to vote, submit your vote for the series for the CAAMFest Forward Audience Award using the button at the top of the video player. And with that, thank you, Chris, Jessika, and Christine. This was so much fun. Okay, thank you, everyone. If you enjoyed today's conversation or enjoying CAAMFest Forward and want to support CAAM's other year-round programs and events, I hope you'll consider making a donation at CAAM's secure website, caammedia.org/donate, or joining as a member, also at our website, caammedia.org/membership. Thank you so much for joining us for this conversation. We look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.